On the broadcast tonight, we have exclusive coverage of the inauguration for the 18th president of Shippensburg University, Dr. Charles Patterson. And we take a look at some of the spooky events going around on campus this week. All of that and more right now on SUTV News. Thanks for joining us on a special edition of SUTV News. I'm Jacob Hitz. Carson Devitt and Maddie Shively will join you here at the desk in just a little while. We begin tonight, though, with some inauguration-related events from earlier on this week. A celebration for students was set up in the Cub Amphitheater on Monday, featuring a mechanical bull and a rock wall, both of which the President and First Lady had to try out. Students also had the chance to talk with the Pattersons during the event. Then on Tuesday, the Jazz Ensemble took to Stewart Hall and performed at a community reception. On Wednesday evening, Shippensburg University welcomed Homer Hickam to speak for the pre-inauguration. Let's send it over to SUTV's Carmine Chickatano, who has a recap of his visit.
Yesterday afternoon, Homer Hickam, a New York Times best-selling author and a former NASA engineer, visited the Shippensburg University campus.
I was tickled to be asked to be part of the inaugural events for President Patterson.
His first stop on campus was the Milton and Doreen Morgan School of Engineering. There, he talked to students from the engineering department about his experiences at NASA, including his time training the first Japanese astronauts. The students then had the opportunity to ask Hickam questions about his career experiences and about what advice he had for the soon-to-be graduates.
What if the solar panels didn't unfold? What if it didn't? If it didn't eject properly? Well, guess what? The solar panels didn't unfold, and it wasn't ejected properly. So.
Then he joined the campus community for a pre-inauguration dinner in the Tuscarora Room, where SU Foundation Chairperson Joe Zullinger praised Dr. Patterson's love for the community.
In the short time that I've known you, I have seen the genuine love and affection that you have for this university and for this community. And it's a great thing, and it helps every one of us.
Michael Ross, a member of the Shippensburg University Council of Trustees, also had positive remarks about President Patterson's inauguration.
Maintaining that preeminence requires transformational leadership. To that point, I'm confident that Dr. Patterson is the right person at the right time to lead the institution.
After the dinner, Hickam gave a brief lecture at the Lurs Performing Arts Center before hosting a book signing for his book, Rocket Boys. For SUTV News, I'm Carmine Chickatano.
On to today's events from the Lurs Performing Arts Center. A long inauguration today lasting more than 2 hours and featuring numerous speakers in and connected to SHIP. At 11 a.m. this morning, the procession made its way into the Lurs Performing Arts Center, gradually making its way to the stage. After the anthem, invocation, and greetings from almost a dozen individuals, the guest speakers made their way to the podium. First, the 14th president of Shippensburg University, Dr. Anthony Sedio.
He is someone who will work with you. It's not about him. It's clear. It's about this place we call SHIP.
Followed up by Lieutenant General Leslie C. Smith.
His knowledge, his skills, and his abilities have placed him in the place where he needs to be right now today, leading and developing Shippensburg University.
Then comes the important part, the pomp and circumstance around the event, the oath of office, the chain of office and mace presentations leading up to the president's inaugural address.
Our decision was reached. I would forego an offer of a permanent presidency for an interim presidency at SHIP because I believe this is where I could make the most difference in the lives of students and continue to lead with an open heart. We have not been disappointed in this decision. Colleen and I are dedicated to SHIP, but also so is our son Aiden, a sophomore living in Noggle Hall. Colleen and I have seen a transformation in him that perhaps only SHIP and not his parents could catalyze.
President Patterson laid out his plans for SHIP in his address, and we'll just have to wait and see as to how or where his plans take SHIP. Meanwhile, SUTV's Brix Minguez reached out to members of the campus community to get their comments on President Patterson.
Thanks, Jacob. We're here in the Setia Union Building in celebration of President Patterson's inauguration, and the feedback we've been receiving from the Shippensburg University community has been overwhelmingly positive.
Mr. and Mrs. Patterson have been such a joy to have on campus, and I think from a student perspective that they are people that our campus has needed. They're always so involved in all events. Like, there's events that I've been to that I'm kind of surprised to see them at because they're normally not things that you'd see upper administration at. They always greet me by name, and it's nice to see them out, like, you know, walking their dogs because it makes them seem more human. I don't know if that, like, you know, instead of, like, you know, the administration up on the hill.
He has shown how dedicated he is to supporting athletics. He makes his best effort to get out to as many games as he can every single year, and on those days where maybe it doesn't work with his schedule and he can't attend, he's always following along with how our teams are doing throughout their seasons.
In their short time here, both Dr. Patterson and his wife Colleen have had a tremendous positive impact on our campus community. It's really nice to see a president and their spouse who are as approachable and as involved on campus as both Dr. Patterson and Mrs. Patterson are.
Really, every person that I have met has unarguably agreed that Dr. Patterson is present. He doesn't have to be requested to attend an event. He just knows, hey, this is important in the lives of a student group or on the lives of the university, and makes an appearance in attendance. And honestly, I truly don't understand how he has the time to attend all that he does.
He's always with the president's hours, and, you know, with his presence on campus has been so great, and you can really tell that he cares about his students and what he's doing here. So I'm excited for this new era that Shippensburg is about to enter, and I couldn't think of a better president that I'm more excited to work with.
Usually I don't want to say stereotype, but like the idea of a university president, you don't see them interacting with students as much as Colleen and President Patterson have. And that's something I know I will always remember, even after I graduate from SHIP. That's something that you don't often see.
For SUTV News, I'm Brix Minguez.
When we come back tonight, we've got you covered on all things Halloween here in SHIP. Maddie and Carson, they join you right here at the desk. In the meantime, we go to break with the Shippensburg University Concert Choir performing the alma mater at today's inauguration.
SUTV.
Welcome back to SUTV News. I'm Carson Devitt.
And I'm Maddie Shipley. With Halloween just around the corner, and many in the area are getting into the spooky spirit, SUTV's Carmine Chicatano has a look at just one way that the campus is celebrating.
I'm here out front of Old Main, where Shippensburg University is hosting their annual Tricks, No Treats event. On Monday, October 24th, the Office of Community Engagement hosted the event on the Old Main Lawn. The event invited members of the community, both young and old, to celebrate Halloween in a fun and safe environment. At the event, attendees were treated to arts and crafts, some games, and of course, plenty of candy. The event started at 5 p.m. on Monday and wrapped up a little after 7 p.m. According to members of the Office of Community Engagement, roughly 300 adults and kids showed up for the event. This led to no shortage in variety of costumes either, with dinosaurs, aliens, animals, and more all making an appearance. I even managed to get a brief interview with one of the masked heroes at the event. So Big Red, what do you think about this event? Thank you. For SUTV News, I'm Carmine Chicatano.
Creative writing is a powerful tool for self-expression, and tonight, students can free their words from notebooks at the Reflector's Halloween Open Mic Night. For almost a decade, the Reflector has sponsored open mic nights that usually fall on holidays like Valentine's Day or Halloween. The group's purpose is to provide a forum for writers to share work with peers and the broader university community. Editor-in-Chief of The Reflector, Megan Gardenauer, encourages everyone to share their creative writing in whatever form, whether it be poetry, prose, readings, or song. Gardenauer also wishes for everyone to get out of their comfort zone by saying, quote, "It's a great way for students to gain feedback and put their voices out there. We always make sure to be as supportive as possible while still having fun," end quote. The open mic night is currently underway in Stewart Hall.
Interested in a spooky event to celebrate Halloween this year? The Residence Hall Association is hosting its annual Haunted Rail Trail event. A section of the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail, beginning at the Spiritual Center, is decked out as an outdoor haunted house. The event's theme this year is cults and will be divided into 3 different sections of terror. You can show up at the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail on October 28th from 8 p.m. to midnight. Don't forget to bring your SUID to sign in and be ready to have your heart racing. Last week, Diane Jefferson was awarded PASHE's inaugural Keepers of the Flame Award. The award recognizes individuals who make contributions to creating a diverse and inclusive environment. Ms. Jefferson, who began her career in 1984, has been overseeing the Office of Multicultural Affairs since its creation in 1989. Join us next week as SUTV will be sitting down with Ms. Jefferson to discuss the award and her time here at SHIP. When we come back in world news, President Biden lays out a plan to give consumers a bit more breathing room.
And Germany paves the way for legalizing marijuana. Stay tuned. What's coming up in this week's edition of The Slate?
Caroline Cooper has the headlines.
Coming up this week in The Slate, our news section will cover the inauguration of Shippensburg University's 18th president, Charles E. Patterson, held at the Loew's Performing Arts Center. The opinion section will cover Slate Speaks. Do you think entertainment has become lazy? And a piece on Yik Yak as a part of the Shippensburg community. Our Ship Life section will feature the Halloween special event Treats Not Tricks and the Pumpkin Fest. The arts and entertainment section will cover the Reflector's Halloween Open Mic Night held at Stewart Hall and a review on the new movie Black Adam. The sports section will cover the field hockey and volleyball matches as well as football and their senior day festivities. Multimedia will be featuring a Rocky Horror Picture Show and a gallery from President Patterson's inauguration. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at ShipUSlate, and be sure to pick up the next edition of The Slate Tuesday in newsstands or read anytime at theslateonline.com.
What's going on around the world today?
Let's send it over to Haley Galaskis, who has what you need to know.
Prince Harry's memoir will be titled Spare, a nod to his nickname. Released next year, it will include his account behind the decision to give up royal duties and move to the U.S. But what does his family think? CNN royal correspondent Max Foster has the details.
Spare is a reference to being the spare heir, number 2 to Prince William, effectively growing up, and Prince Harry would often be called the Spare. That would often be his nickname, and it's something that he'll analyse in this book as we understand it. It all starts at that very poignant moment during Princess Diana's funeral, where we saw her 2 young sons walking behind the coffin, everyone wondering how they were feeling, what would become of them? And this is Harry's perspective, his view on that. According to the publishers, with its raw, unflinching honesty, Spare is a landmark publication full of insight, revelation, self-examination, and hard-won wisdom about the eternal power of love over grief. For Harry, it is his chance to tell his story. He's been frustrated that he hasn't been able to tell his side of the story as it was, as he grew up in royal life. And this is his chance to put that on the record in a book coming out in January. I'm told by Prince William's side and by King Charles's side that they will not be making a comment. They haven't had a preview so far either. We'll wait to see what's in the book. Max Foster, CNN London.
The German government is paving the way for the legalization of recreational cannabis for adults. Though many details must first be squared with the EU law, the legislation would allow adults to possess up to 30 grams of marijuana. It would also allow limited amounts of cannabis to be grown and sold to adults in licensed specialist shops. But Germany's health minister warns many hurdles remain. President Joe Biden took aim to the economy today, laying out the steps his administration is taking to provide consumers with what it's called more breathing room. This comes as millions of Americans continue to struggle with rising costs. Chris Wen has more from the nation's capital.
Today, my administration is announcing new actions to lower the cost of everyday living for American families, to put more money in the pockets of middle income and working class Americans, to hold big corporations accountable.
The Biden administration is now taking action across agencies to help cut down on so-called junk fees, defining them as designed either to confuse or deceive consumers or to take advantage of lock-in or other forms of situational market power.
These are junk fees. They're unfair and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks.
According to officials with the National Economic Council, the fees fall into 4 categories: mandatory fees that often hide the full price, surprise fees that consumers learn after purchase, exploitative or predatory fees, and fraudulent fees. The White House points to hidden charges and added fees on airline tickets, hotel bookings, and cable bills. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is issuing guidance on some banking fees.
We're taking enforcement actions, like one against a large bank for charging illegal overdraft fees, and customers will see hundreds of millions of dollars in refunds.
The new rulemaking process aims to make fees more transparent and comes with the midterms less than 2 weeks away.
This is an attempt to tell voters that they are trying to ease the pains of the pocketbook, because that's what Republicans have said over and over again.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
It's at least the 6th discovery this year. A couple weeks ago, a diver found to be appeared a human bone in the lake. So the next day, the park searched that area and found more human remains. Whether the bones belong to the same person or different people is something the coroner's office is still working on. Lake Mead is the largest reservoir in the country, stretching out between Nevada and Arizona, but its water levels have been dropping because of the drought parching the region. As the shorelines have receded, mysteries long hidden beneath the surface have been uncovered, everything from bones, like this recent finding, 2 sunken boats, a World War II-era landing craft, and ancient volcanic rock. That's it for World News this week. I'm Haley Galaskis. Let's send it back over to Maddie and Carson at the desk.
When we come back in entertainment, exciting news for fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
We have more after the break. Maddie, I feel like with the weather last week, I can't quite tell if we're in summer, winter, or fall.
Totally agree with you, Carson. The weather has been all over the place. Now let's send it over to Storm Johnson, who has this week's weather.
As we step even closer to Halloween and all the fall festivities here at SHIP, let's take a step back and look at this week's weather report. Tonight, we're going to see clear skies while temperatures drop below 50 degrees. Tomorrow, expect cloud coverage throughout the day, and without the sun peeking through, we're going to see our coldest day of the week with a high of only 57. Over the weekend, temperatures hover around 60 degrees. Saturday, expect some sun, while Sunday, the clouds move back in. To start next week, be prepared for the elements as we see 50% chance of rain on Monday. However, it's short-lived as the rest of the week, the sky's clear, the ground's dry, and we see temperatures rise up to almost 70 degrees. Some not so scary weather for a very spooky weekend. That's your weekly weather report. I'm Storm Johnson, and now over to Michael Donegan with this week's entertainment.
MCU fans have been spoiled this month as Marvel released the first trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. While moviegoers are excited to see their favorite tiny heroes return to the big screen, there's no doubt that most of the enthusiasm for this film is due to Jonathan Majors' reprised role as Kang the Conqueror, who was last seen in the Loki series where Majors portrayed the Kang variant, He Who Remains. The trailer also shared the first look at Cassie Lang, now played by Katherine Newton, who finally gets to fight alongside her dad in the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania will set the stage for Phase 5 of the MCU, and much like the Quantum Realm, it is sure to be full of surprises. The film is scheduled to be released on February 17th of next year. Actor and entertainment personality Leslie Jordan has passed away in a tragic car crash on Monday, October 24th. The former Will and Grace star abruptly lost control of his vehicle, crashing into a building on Romaine Street in Hollywood that morning. Officials are yet to release information regarding what led Jordan to lose control as the investigation continues. The icon was loved by many for his roles in The Help, Call Me Kat, American Horror Story, and many other films. Leslie regained the spotlight on social media during the COVID-19 pandemic through posting humorous content to bring more positivity to a dark situation. Jordan was well known amongst many communities as an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, sobriety, and self-expression. The actor was very open about his past struggle with alcoholism and used his platform to encourage a healthy, happy lifestyle. Jordan's willingness to express himself in such a spotlight was appreciated and followed by many. His accomplishments are being heavily recognized and rewarded by loved ones as they use this time to cope. For SUTV Entertainment, I'm your friendly neighborhood sidekick, Michael Donegan, now passing it back over to Maddie and Carson at the desk.
When we come back in sports, can Raiders volleyball come out on top against East Stroudsburg?
We have more after this.
I was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
On Saturday, field hockey traveled to Frostburg State. The Raiders came to the matchup ranked the number 2 team in the country. Under a minute into the game, Tess Jadlow scored on the corner to give the Raiders an early 1-0 lead. A few minutes later, Frostburg State tied the game up. Frostburg State taps in the pass and ties the game at 1. In the second quarter, Auguste Garibaldi scores to give the Raiders a 2-1 lead. Later on in the fourth quarter, Paige Bond is going to intercept the pass, and she'll end up finding Maya Kemp, who scores to extend the Raiders' lead to 4-1. Here's the play here, dribbling, finds Maya Kemp, and she's going to score and put this one in, making it 4-1. The Raiders extended the lead one more time in this one. Tess Jadlow scored her second goal of the contest, and the Raiders go on to win this one 5-1. The Raiders return home on Saturday and will face Bloomsburg at 12 p.m. Football looked to bounce back after a tough homecoming loss against Kutztown. SUTV's Jacob Hitz has the highlights from Saturday.
A one-sided rivalry. Ship has won an incredible 17 straight games dating back to 2001. First Marauder drive, and true freshman sensation Robert Footman earned the starting job a few weeks back, and he shows why on this designed quarterback run up the middle, breaks some tackles, and he's got all the room in the world. He takes it to the house, 75 yards, and the Section 4 Player of the Year in the Lancaster Lebanon League in high school puts the Marauders up 7-0. Second quarter, late in the second quarter, a lot of punts back and forth. Some penalties move the Raiders down the field, and Falco takes the snap here. He's going to stand strong in the pocket, little play action, rolls out. Now he's just going to step up and throw it. Double coverage downfield, but Red Douglas makes the grab at the 21-yard line, and the Raiders are in business after a 40-yard play. Penalties get the Raiders a little bit closer. Khalid Dorsey punches it in from 2 yards out. Raiders tie it at 7 at the half. Second half, Raiders start with the football and methodically move the ball down the field. It's a 5-minute drive capped off right here. Falco to Douglas in the end zone. Beautiful play. It's 14-7 Shippensburg. On the Marauders' next drive, they have a great drive. Footman feeds it to Marcus Pierce right here, runs it in from a yard out, and we're tied at 14. 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. More back and forth, about 6 minutes to go in the game. Marauders kick a 29-yard field goal. They take the lead. It's 17-14. Raiders have more than 5 minutes to find a way to respond and try and keep this win streak alive. They get it down to the 33-yard line. Play action. First down for Falco. He's got pressure. Can't find anybody. Trips over himself and loses a ton of yardage. He falls back behind the 45-yard line. That is out of field goal range. They can't get all those yards back. It's a 53-yard attempt from Jackson Montross. He hit a 50-yard field goal in his first career game last year at Seth Grove Stadium. This kick, not even close. It lands in the end zone, some 5 yards short of the crossbar. It's no good. A statement win for Millersville, their first win over Shippensburg since the year 2000. For SUTV Sports, I'm Jacob Hitz.
Against the Raiders, and for the first time in his career, head coach J.C. Morgan picks up a win.
Ship returns to Seth Grove Stadium for the last time this season to host East Stroudsburg. SUTV will have live coverage of the game beginning at 1 p.m. On Wednesday night, men's soccer hosted Bloomsburg. The Huskies got off to a quick start. About a minute and a half in, the Huskies put in the rebound to give them an early 1-0 lead. The Huskies strike again 5 minutes later when Shea Gillen puts this one on the top shelf to extend the lead 2-0. Later in the half, Chase Estes kicks in the loose rebound, and the Raiders cut the deficit to 2-1. Second half, the Raiders tie the game up. Ashton Davies takes the penalty kick, and he's going to score, which is going to tie this game all up at 2. Here's a PK, lines up his shot, and absolutely rips this one in, all tied up at 2. Later in the half, the Huskies going to break the tie when Sam Ames scores to give the Huskies a 3-2 advantage. The Raiders are ultimately going to drop this one to the Huskies 3-2. The Raiders travel to East Stroudsburg for their final regular season game on Saturday at 7 o'clock. The Shippensburg women's soccer team faced off against the Mansfield Mountaineers yesterday, and though the Raiders had some early success, the Mountaineers were not going to go away without a fight. Shippensburg got the ball rolling in the first 5 minutes of the game as Imogen Longcake shows off her speed and breaks the defender to take a shot on goal. The ball bounces off the gloves of the freshman goalkeeper, Sam Athamerklin, allowing Longcake to follow through with her shot, this time sending it to the corner, putting the Raiders up 1-0. Jumping ahead to minute 18, the Raiders had some controlled passing following the throw-in, allowing for a wide-open Elise Caffrey to effortlessly send the ball to the back of the net. Shippensburg leads 2-0. Goalkeeper Samantha Merklin collected a game-high 10 saves for Mansfield, but not even a minute after their second goal, Ship maintained control of the game with some excellent passing from Elise Caffrey, who finds some time and crosses the ball to the center, where it bounces off two heads of Mountaineers to be kicked in midair by Raiders' Olivia Steffen. Shippensburg up 3-0. During minute 27, Mountaineers' Caitlin Ruppel decided to take matters into her own feet as she is fouled in the penalty box after a corner kick, allowing her to mitigate the Raiders' score with the PK. Shippensburg still leads 3-1. But Ruppel isn't done just yet, as the ball is crossed in the 53rd minute after the Mountaineers throw-in, and unfortunately the camera is not going to show the goal here, but Ruppel was on the receiving end of the cross, putting Mansfield down by 1. Though Ruppel's efforts didn't go unnoticed, the Raiders' defense managed to hold on to their lead and win the game 3-2. Shippensburg's next home game will be against the Bloomsburg Huskies this Saturday at 3. After coming off a nail-biting win versus Kutztown, the Raiders volleyball squad looked to keep the momentum going with a showdown versus East Stroudsburg this past Saturday. The PSAC East Divisional contest was a close one, with the Raiders and the Warriors splitting the first 4 sets. We pick up in set 5. Score 12-11, Raiders find themselves down 1 after the ESU response. Alex Leitner comes up with an incredible save, which sets up Maddie Clawball for the game-tying kill. After a 2-point run, the Raiders are 1 point away from victory. Here comes a serve from Leitner, and East Stroudsburg just cannot come up with a response, sealing the win for Shippensburg in 5 sets. After leading her squad to second in the PSAC East, as well as pacing the Raiders with 235 kills, senior Rachel Verhoef was named the PSAC East Volleyball Athlete of the Week. That marks the 6th week in a row where Raider was named a weekly award winner, marking a school record. Verhoef, with her .394 hitting percentage, looked to lead the Raiders as they take on Bloomsburg this Friday at 6 o'clock. That's it for sports this week. I'm Jay DeRazio. Now we're going to throw it back to Maddie and Carson at the desk.
When we come back, we have an update on our Halloween costume contest.
Stay tuned. Finally tonight, an update on our Halloween costume contest from last week. After our anchors decided on the top few, students were polled on their favorite costume, and guess what? It was a tie. Sage, a St. Bernard dressed as a shark, and Raider, a black lab dressed as a bumblebee, both received lots of love from the campus community.
Maddie, we had quite a few submissions, but I'm really happy that at the end of the day, we were able to narrow it down to just 2.
Can't help but agree. As much as I love seeing our 4-legged friends, I'm glad those 2 came out on top.
Me too. Well, that's it for SUTV News. I'm Carson Devitt.
And I'm Maddie Shively. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at SUTV News, and check out our website, sutvnews.org.
We'll see you next week. Good night.